All right, guys, thanks. Yeah, it's been far too long, in fact, since we've had our friend Jos Schmitt on with us, President and CEO of the NEO Exchange, to talk about the NEO Exchange coming up to their 6th birthday already in July. Will be about a month from now. We'll talk about that coming up. But let's bring on Jos, guys, and get an update on how things have been going over at the NEO Exchange. As I mentioned, Jos, it's great to see you, first of all. It's been far too long. I hope you're well.
Very well, Brendan, and a true pleasure to be back with all of you. I miss you guys.
Yeah, it's. I mean, given everything that's going on, we do what we can as far as technology provides, anyways. But let's talk about the NEO Exchange. Yeah, I just noticed coming up to birthday number 6 for the NEO Exchange. So congratulations. Things still going very well.
No, indeed, 6 years, and I would say an incredible journey over all those years. And I would say when I look at last year and the beginning of this year, we see incredible growth and momentum. And it's not only on the trading side where we are today, regularly touching 15% of all volume traded in Canada, but it's also on the corporate listing side and ETF listing side. But let's maybe zoom in on the corporate side, where we have seen incredible acceleration. And I would say that today we are probably around 30-40 corporate listings. We have a very substantial pipeline that I would probably put at 80 to 100 other corporates, with about 15-20 that are in full process of getting listed, and lots of other things going on. As always, not later than today, we announced a totally new data solution for one of the segments in the market that has been underserviced, the MFDA advisors. So always continuing to innovate, coming with new ideas and doing what we believe is what is right for the investors, the traders, and the capital raisers.
Let's discuss. A lot of viewers watching might not be terribly familiar with the NEO Exchange if they're based in the U.S. Let's talk about what really sets NEO apart, because there are some very important differences that traders and investors need to be aware of when it comes to the NEO Exchange. Tell us about what has really given these companies the incentive to come to you versus other options in the market, and what really sets NEO apart.
Yeah, I think there's a number of factors, and I think that is what has been driving our success with all those new listings. I think first element that I always put forward is that people have to realize that we are what we call a tier 1 exchange. So we are not a venture exchange here in Canada. We're a tier 1 exchange, and in other words, we are directly competing with the TSX. But why is that status important for investors? Because it gives you a number of guarantees, I would say, around the quality of the corporates. They need to have the right governance in place. They need to have the proper financial controls in place, the proper financial reporting. They need to comply with exchange standards that are substantially superior than those that you have on a venture exchange. So many elements that give you at the end of the day, better quality companies. That's as plain and simple as it is. And you see that also with respect to the behavior of institutional investors. Institutional investors typically will not invest in venture companies for all the reasons that I just mentioned. You also see that from the perspective of international exchanges. When a company is looking at a dual listing on NASDAQ or NYSE or the London Stock Exchange, it's going to be much easier when you are listed on a tier 1 exchange, again, because they also acknowledge that quality. But those elements, and probably the last one that I should not forget, only tier 1 exchanges get included in benchmarks, and we recently got included, as you may know, into the FTSE benchmarks, in the MSCI benchmarks, and more to come. But all of that, of course, you could say, well, that is not very different from a TSX. Now, with respect to the TSX, we also have a lot of differentiation, and I think I would probably bring it back in a couple of core core elements. One, we have a very unique liquidity program where we leverage a multi-branched approach with some of the the biggest market makers globally that are providing liquidity in the stock. Think about Virtue, think about RBC Capital Markets. We enable third-party liquidity providers. We work closely with the day trading community, and all of that supported by a trading engine and a trading model that protects all of those liquidity providers from predatory trading strategies. So it's easier for them to post more size and better spreads because we give them the time to adjust their quotes so they're not taken out by other parties. Second element that I think is very important is we also developed an entire program to help companies that go public with their go-to-market. And we work there with partners, and we have an entire strategy defined for them on how to reach all types of investors, retail investors, institutional investors, investment advisors, financial advisors, family offices, and all types of components that you need, because you can have all the liquidity in the world. If you don't have the investors that are there and ready to participate or are not aware of your stock, you have an issue. So lots of focus on that is important. Also a lot of focus on access outside of Canada. Again, we are big supporters of ensuring that companies are also available for trading if they don't dual list immediately on OTC markets in the US, in OTC markets in Germany, in Frankfurt. That is what's enabling an easy access for the discount channels in those countries. And then last but not least, I think very focused on service. Like we heard a lot from our issuers. As an exchange, we are focused on solutions, not on problems. And I think that makes a very big difference also and gives them an incredible experience.
When it comes to, there's been obviously a shift in focus for retail investors. You mentioned a couple of reasons there as why retail investors should be focused on the NEO exchange. But let's talk about this increased attention here as far as the retail market is concerned. And tell us a little bit about maybe some of the opportunities that the NEO exchange provides for that specific group.
Well, I think the way NEO is really starting to define itself, and it translates itself in the companies that list with us. I think what is becoming very clear is that companies that are part of the innovation economy are the ones that are really interested in NEO, which means companies that are growth companies that have a tremendous potential, companies also that come with substantial activity, that can come with a little bit more volatility because they are growth companies. And as you know, we just look at the Nasdaq index. Growth companies are much more subject to concerns around inflation or concerns around interest rates and things like that. So you have companies with enormous potential and companies at the same time that present interesting trading opportunities. And if you look at who's listing on NEO, who's in the pipeline of NEO, it reinforces that view of NEO being that innovation economy exchange. Because what I see is clean tech, fintech, I see biotech, life sciences in general. You can put, of course, cannabis as being part of that. So all those types of new companies, technology companies in general, that are building what our world is going to be tomorrow, and that is very exciting. And it's also very exciting for us to be the organization that is enabling that in the Canadian market. But what we now start to see, we also start to see interest coming out of Europe. We start to see interest coming out of the US about listing on NEO. You will see in the next weeks and months some very interesting European companies and US companies listing on NEO. And again, all part of that innovation economy, and then I think that is clearly the brand that is developing around us. Reminds you a little bit of Nasdaq in the 90s, focused on the technology as they were. And I think it's companies with big long-term opportunities, and it's companies that I think are going to give also a lot of trading opportunities. And then last but not least, but I can't say too much about that, you're also going to see us come with a very exciting new product, a new instrument that I think is going to be, we're not talking about an ETF, we're not talking about a mutual fund or type of product or anything of that nature. That is going to be extremely exciting for the retail and the day trading community. So keep your eyes open towards the end of the month about something very, very unique that's going to come, and it's probably going to be worth a good conversation in due time because it's going to open up a whole set of new opportunities for the Canadian community.
We're heading into the second half of the year. Obviously, the 6th birthday coming up in July for the NEO Exchange, and obviously lots of excitement and more developments to come from NEO. Jos Schmitt, the president and CEO of the NEO Exchange. It's always a pleasure. We need to do this more often. Jos, always a pleasure to talk to you. Best of luck going forward.
Thank you, Brendan. True pleasure to be with you guys.
There we go, guys. A little bit of a look at the NEO Exchange here in Toronto and in Canada. If you want more information, you can see the website at the bottom. Guys.